We all go to church with us just for a moment. Can we go to church just for a moment?
Hey. When I think of the goodness of Jesus and all that he has done for me, my soul cries out. Hey, now where how I'm trained, y'all. I know there's a program, but sometimes God shifts your program. I'm trying my best, y'all. I'm trying. Dr. Bryant, I'm trying my best to hold it together. I'm trying my best to hold it together. But when I think of what God has brought me from, when I used to be on the corner trying to sell dope, but God called me out of darkness into this marvelous light. We come to worship tonight. We have a preacher in the house. And Rob, if I was at Friendship, there wouldn't be nothing left to do but pass this mic to Pastor Bryant and let him kill this house. But since I'm here at Juneteenth, y'all know what? We gonna shift. We gonna let Jamal Bryant come on up. And then we're going to do the rest later. Amen.
Bless that wonderful name of Jesus. You may be seated in the presence of the Lord. The truth of the matter is God's been better to us than we've been to ourselves. And for that we give God glory, we give him praise, and we give him thanksgiving. 16 months into a pandemic, if you're just glad to be alive, would you give God glory? I am appreciative. I'm appreciative for this privilege to be able to speak God's name out loud, realizing that the truth of the matter is he didn't have to let me live. But he did, and for that, I give him glory, I give him praise. I cannot tell you how honored and humbled I am to be with you on this evening, not just to commemorate Juneteenth, but imagine my awe to celebrate Juneteenth in Iowa. So I gotta be, I didn't know it was that many of y'all here, so I didn't know what I was walking into tonight, but I was glad when they said unto me. Let me publicly appreciate our conveners for gathering us together. For those in leadership, thank you, Rob. I'm appreciative, and to our host pastors, I am humbled to stand behind this sacred space. Would you join me in a chorus of thanksgiving for our music ministries? Amen. To all of the pastors and faith leaders who are here, I am third generation AME, and I pastor a Missionary Baptist church, but I got Kojic in my bones, and so I'm glad to have my Kojic bishop with me tonight. Let's give God some praise for our bishop and first lady. I want to issue a warrant for your intelligent arrest and summons you to 1 Corinthians chapter 13. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse number 4. And from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse number 4, I only want to read the first three words. You'll stand. I'm not used to preaching in front of people. I've been virtual for a year, so I'm young. This feels like a Azusa to me. Thank you. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse number 4, just the first three words. Love is patient. You may be seated. Thank you. I want to preach for a little while today using as a subject, we're running out of patience. We're running out of patience. Historians will record almost in infamy, November 3rd, 2020, in the annals of American history, the one night that every person's living room turned into a waiting room. Even after the admonition of the CDC, the World Health Organization, and Dr. Fauci, there seemed to be nothing, even in the face of the pandemic, to get the people to stay at home until election night. Even inching towards midnight, there was no closure, with 10 states still swinging in the pendulum. And yet nobody turned their TVs off. 5 days later, media outlets made a projection for Vice President Biden, but that was with 4 other states still not having a conclusion and the sitting president still not conceding. You had untowards evangelicals lifting contaminated prayers. Shootings were down. Restaurants were empty. And stores were skeletal. We watched and waited because we wanted to see if democracy really worked. We watched and waited because we wanted to believe that every vote actually counts. And whether we were willing to admit it or not, we kept watching and waiting because even through scars, we still love America. Almost as my thesis statement tonight, I want to argue aloud that you are only willing to wait for what you are in love with. You're only willing to wait for what you are in love with. Can you imagine the tension in Galveston, Texas, that on June 19th, 1865, they waited 2 years just to find out that they were actually free, to discover that delay was not denial. Can you imagine how it is that they sat on the cusp waiting for a UPS truck that would never pull up, for Amazon that had not been invented, for somebody to send them a smoke signal or Morse code, that what they were waiting for had actually been penned 2 years prior. That this is before text messages, it's before emails, it's before Instagram, and they've got to wait. Lest you forget, you only wait what you are in love with. Might I argue, even for those of you who sit in the balcony tonight, that there is shock trauma that is embedded in the life and the mind and the spirit of African Americans who somehow or another are having a torrid love affair with an abusive lover. Because we love America even when it hits us. We love America even when it hurts us. Can you imagine the strength that it requires for black people to declare the Pledge of Allegiance, even when we found out that the original lie of this nation is that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are not created equal and are not given the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Can you imagine what it takes for us to even recount what it is that Langston Hughes wrote in a one-bedroom apartment on Lenox Avenue in Harlem, New York? I too sing America. They ask me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I just laugh and eat well and grow strong, for tomorrow they'll see how beautiful I am, because I too am America. Can you imagine what it feels coursing through our veins to see many who tried to kill him now take the day off for Dr. King's birthday? When it is that he wrote his epic underscored book, Why We Can't Wait, that follows the urgency of now, because it is always the right time to do the right thing. The chapter most utilized in weddings is 1 Corinthians chapter 13. there really is an overhaul on the layers of love. I find it intriguing that when the apostle is laying out his litany on what love is and underscoring what love is not, he reveals 8 things that love is not. It's not envious. It doesn't boast. It's not proud. It's not disrespectful. It's not selfish. And it doesn't have a bad sense of humor. But there are only 7 things that actually make love do what it do. Many are unsuccessful in finding love because we have a list of what we do want, but we don't have a list of what we don't. Maybe this is the time for Africans in America to write a list of what we don't want. We protested, we marched for integration to take place, for us to be able to attend higher institutions of education, but we didn't know we would only get scholarships if we threw footballs. We never wrote what we didn't want. We raised our daughters to believe that they were beautiful, only to find themselves plastered in magazines, rebuked because of their lips, because of their melanin, and because of their buttocks, only to discover that those who vilified them went to get surgery to look like them. Love is patient. Love is patient for a generation that's always in a hurry, because this is a generation that knows microwaves but can't identify a crock pot. Love is patient. It's ironic that when COVID-19 reached this nation, social media exploded immediately with the Don't Rush Challenge. Videos sprouted up everywhere from TikTok to Instagram, not realizing that the Don't Rush Challenge would be our mantra. We couldn't rush to the mall, couldn't rush to go back to flying, couldn't rush to take your mask off, couldn't rush to go back to church. And nobody understood that patience is not always a penalty, but sometimes patience is a process. The old Negro spiritual intonated, you can't hurry God, you just have to wait. The prophet Isaiah said that they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength, mount up on wings as eagles. The sounds of blackness lit up radio stations in the 90s with the smash hit, Hold On, Change is Coming. And for 400 years, we've been hearing as a people to hold on. But the critical question we've got to ask is, how long do you want us to hold when the rope is cutting our hands? But they fail to tell us that sometimes we win just by waiting. In philosophy, Friedrich Nietzsche spent his entire career spouting that God was dead. But today I rise to tell you that Nietzsche is dead and God is still alive. God didn't fight Nietzsche, he just outlived him. Robert Lee is dead. Jefferson Davis is dead. Bull Connor is dead. Governor George Wallace is dead. Strom Thurmond is dead. Ronald Reagan is dead. But Kamala Harris is alive. Because sometimes the winning is in the waiting. The picture of the patience of love is that love holds its ground and doesn't relinquish an inch on what it believes. The power of love is understanding that patience is stubbornness, is that it cannot be moved. There is something about a love of a mother that will wait on a child that can't find its way. There had to be something about the love of the father of the prodigal son who sat on a porch while his son was in a strip club, while his son was throwing money and making it rain. while his son was sleeping with pigs, but he wouldn't move from that front porch. Many of you ought to thank God for the ancestors in your family who prayed for this moment to happen. I come to you from the state of Georgia, where they would have never imagined a church filled with black and white people together, believing that we serve in the same God, that we believe in his power, his redemption, his grace, and his mercy. You ought to thank God that in heaven there is no segregation. But when all God's children get together, what a time, what a time, what a time. Patience is not weakness. Patience is not weakness. The Greek word for love in Galatians is markothumio. It is a compound word. It comprises of two words, marko meaning long and thumio meaning passion. So to be patient doesn't mean to be short on strength. It means to be long on passion. The most under-celebrated, underrated heroes in our nation are teachers and nurses who understand what it means to exercise patience, and their patience is love. The people who understand this long suffering of patience and passion are those who are having to serve as caregivers of parents who can no longer take care of themselves. Patience is a process, and patience is not weakness, but patience is strength. Do you know what it took for you to wait, for you to get to this moment? It wasn't 2 years, but so many years. You had to cry out in the words of James Weldon Johnson, God of our weary years and God of our silent tears, the one who has brought us thus far along the way. Do you know how you haven't lost your mind yet? Do you know how you haven't hurt nobody? Do you know how you haven't shot your own head off? You have said, I gotta wait on the Lord, because God is worth waiting for, and he'll never let me down. Love is willing to wait for what it wants. Love is willing to wait for what it wants. Love understands that just because you want it doesn't mean that you're ready for it. I'm dating myself. I grew from a generation of mothers who actually used to make cakes. Not buy them, but you could smell the cake baking in the oven. And you kept walking past trying to see, was it ready yet? And Big Mom would tell you, don't you touch that door yet. Why? Because if you open the door, hear me, I'm preaching already. If you open the door too early, the whole thing will fall apart. Sometimes God will shut doors because he's waiting on some stuff to get ready for you. He'll close some doors because what you need is not prepared yet. I remember 3 black boys. They're not from Selma. They're not from Montgomery. Not even from Atlanta, but 3 black boys. I don't know if you heard about them in Iowa, but these 3 black boys are named Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And you know that they're black. You know that they're black because they got charges when they never did a crime. You know that they're black because no bail was ever set. You know that they're black because no attorney was assigned to them. And God, in his permissive will, allowed them to get thrown in the fire. But the governor, the president, thought that he was in charge and thought they were going to die in the fire, but he didn't know there's a secret weapon for oppressed people, that even when we're in the fire, I will bless the Lord at all times, and his praise shall continually be in my mouth. If you ain't never praised him under fire, sit there. But if you've been through some stuff where you're able to say, if it had not been for the Lord, if you wait on it, you won't have to fix it. If you wait on it, you won't have to force it. If you wait on it, you will not have to manipulate it. Love knows what it wants, and it's willing to wait for it. If you are not willing to wait for me, you really don't love me. Look at the person beside you and tell them, when God gets through with me, I shall come forth as pure gold. I looked at my hands and they the same ashy hands, but they don't do what they used to do. I looked at my feet and they the same flat feet, but they don't go where they used to go. You want to know why I give God glory? He waited for me. And somebody ought to thank God that he looks beyond all of my faults. He waited for you. He waited for you. He waited for you. When you were in a hotel room you didn't belong in, he waited for you. When you were drunk and had no business driving, he waited for you. When you spoke some things that didn't mirror your character or your upbringing, he waited for you. While you were on Pornhub and playing video games all night, he waited for you. And the only thing I got to remind you is while you were in your mother's womb, he already had plans for you. He knew that you were going to be great. He knew that you were going to change the world. The amazing thing that in Galveston, Texas, they had to wait 2 years. But in Jerusalem, they had to wait 3 days. They hung him high. They stretched him wide. He hung his head and then he died. But that's not how the story ends. 3 days later, he got